back to Salmon's Pizzeria. Tonight we're assessing a red card frenzy at the weekend's Premiership fixtures. Celtic remain top of the table after leaving it late in Dingwall. Aberdeen continue a surprise title charge after a blockbuster game at Pittodrie with Hearts. Kelly came back from 2 goals from 6 minutes to go after a controversial red card at Dens Park. Rangers were forced to bounce back again as the ease past St Johnstone. Motherwell beat 10 men Hibernian, and United managed a big win at St Mirren Park. We're down at the bare bones tonight. We've had a couple of call-offs, filling in for host Jenna Thompson. Poor wee Gogsy was hoping I was going to get tight off the host tonight after Motherwell got the points at Easter Road. I'm in charge tonight, but I'm sure Alex won't let me off. But how you doing tonight, Alex? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a bit of a sick bed for the pizzeria tonight, so I'm also filling in, and as you can see, looking a little bit soggy.
Get what? I'm going to get that one out the way. I was at Easter Road on Saturday and I was done talking about it after one pint after the pub. Never mind a follow-up podcast. Motherwell, 4th in the league now. Really good start from them. They capitalised against 10-man Hibs. Poor marking up from Kwon, who's on loan from Celtic, who actually had a decent game before that. Call it green-tinted glasses if you want, but I actually thought Hibs were comfortably the better side in the first hour. They couldn't finish their dinner, and then the red card changed the game. However, that'll be no comfort to Hibs fans seeing their team on 5 points out of a possible 21 in a results-based business. It's not good enough. Gray persisted with Josh Campbell. I call him Casper. He's like a ghost. He's like playing with 10 men at the moment, and he persists with right back Chris Cadden at right wing as well. Great when you're playing Rangers at Ibrox and your fullback is going to need a lot of help, but not so much when you're looking to take the game to the opponents. And Cadden missed an absolute sitter at a crucial point in the game. Those were saying that, some were saying that, stick with the same team that did well. Well, last time we actually won a match against St Johnstone, we were playing young Rudy Molotnikov in Campbell's position, and we genuinely looked night and day better. So why change a winning formula? Well, Alex, is this a bottom 6 side where they should be, or is this football club cursed, as I believe it is?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think Hibs they're in a sticky patch just now. I don't want to say they're similar to Rangers, but I want to say there's like a kind of similar aspect of the expectations are a lot larger than what's going on, and what I see and what I hear and what I've heard all summer in terms of my own club, Philippe Clement has been telling us this is a rebuild. This isn't going to be ready in July. This isn't going to be ready in October. This is going to be ready in 3-4 windows time. The same kind of has to be treated at Hibs.
Yeah.
However, I am also aware that doesn't mean that you're just let off the hook for however long. And it has been a really slow start, a really poor start. Albeit having played both old firm sides so far, it still makes a difference, when you have home ties against Motherwell. And this is probably an opportunity where, David Gray and the Hibs side are thinking, right, this is a chance to get 3 more points on the board, pull a little bit further away from those underneath us, get a little bit closer to those above us. And they like you say, I think they were the better side in the first half, but just lacking that kind of clinical edge to the game. And in the final third, Motherwell didn't really look too troubled, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Hibs, I think there are similarities between Hibs and Rangers where they're trying to spend money to kind of cut corners and do the hard yards before you succeed. And I think if you look at a lot of these sides that Hibs fans would certainly view as a bigger club, when you look at the attendances, if you look at the history of the club, clubs like St Mirren, clubs like Motherwell, who have organised their teams really well, and they're getting their points on the board, and Hibs just aren't. And for the past 3 seasons, it's been the same old story for Hibs. Albeit, we've lost a few key players. Kieran Bowie was our marquee signing up top. Martin Boyle's out. Joe Newell. So you can make concessions, but playing a right back at a right wing, we're supposed to be challenging for Europe, and if he's in your front line, you're not going to be getting the results at home. We've missed out on a big signing in Luke McCown as well, who might have made a difference, but big ifs and buts. It's a results-based business, and Hibs have failed again. And Motherwell, to give them their credit, okay, they were trying to keep it tight before the goal. They did go 1-0 up. It was just a mistake by Stephen O'Donnell, which Junior Hoylett, who's been brilliant, by the way, capitalised on. So they'll feel quite hard done by that analysis. And they've still got to go and get that goal. And Andy Halliday, with his experience, was able to just outsmart Quan and get the 3 points for Motherwell.
Yeah, and Mother will be, like you say, more than happy with that. Just kind of on the last point, and yeah, what you're saying there, going forward, if you look at the start of the season and where Hibs and Aberdeen were off the back of last season, the differences is just mental. And I'm nobody expected Aberdeen to come in this form, and this is a red herring. This isn't something that happens every single season, and I doubt. I mean, Aberdeen fans won't be happy to hear this, but I doubt it will last too much longer for them. But yeah, it's night and day, isn't it? And Hibs fans, probably rightly so, are going to look at it and think, well, why can't that be us? Especially with the big investment in the background. A fresh start for a manager, promised several signings, promised kind of squad depth. And yeah, you just don't see it. And I think the result in isolation should be disappointing, because Hibs shouldn't be expecting to get anything, to not get anything from a game at home to Motherwell. They should probably be expecting 3 points, or at least one, and they'll be disappointed. On the flip side, Motherwell have started really well. Stuart Kettlewell, has been given the time that he was deserved, because he came in, steadied the ship, did a good job. Then all of a sudden, things looked a little bit lackluster, as they had done under previous managers. And I think a few fans, kind of, as we are all fickle bunches, decided to say, maybe this is his time up. The club said, no, behave yourself, stuck with him, and it's been worth it, because the second end of last season, they were very unlucky to not finish in the top six. And now they'll be aiming for, a European place this year. So a great result, a great 3 points, and great to see Morelos' celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's a bit of a cliche, but, it just shows you that the managers do need time, and they can, even with a dip, can turn it round. I think Hibs has been a story of just poor managers' choices, but I think David Gray will need time if he is to succeed. But you mentioned Aberdeen, Alex. Another 3 points on the board. You doubt it's going to last, but why not?
Well, yes, I guess it's the kind of tricky fixture list that they've got ahead of themselves. But yeah, a more happy result for you than seeing Hearts stay so far away from everybody else. And the team that were kind of destined for most people's third place now sit, 19 points behind Aberdeen. It's just mental. Hearts have capitulated at the start of the season, and to be fair to them, that is probably their strongest performance so far. So it shows that there is kind of guts and glory at Aberdeen at the moment, because I don't think they were superb in any means, but they have the individuals who are ready to go, do you know what, we're going to pull ourselves through this. And I mean, Graham Shinney's one of those, but you saw it through every single goal. And when Ante Palaversa scores that last one, the fans and the players, there's just so much passion there. They play to win. They go out onto that pitch, and Jimmy Tillene's gone, win at any costs and every cost. And they've gone, do you know what? Yeah, we are going to do that, because why can't we? Why shouldn't we? And Hearts have a pretty poor record in recent years at Pittodrie. I think it's going back to like 2016 for their last win there, but they should still be, trying to get something, and albeit they did put up a fight, Aberdeen probably deserved to come away with the 3 points in the end. And I think, what will stop them from going on this run is a trip to Celtic Park. I think had the fixture been reversed, it would be a really interesting one to see. If it was at Pittodrie, could Aberdeen do something? But I think it's almost, the last couple of games they've looked a little bit less convincing. And if they take that to Celtic Park, then Brendan Rodgers and his side could be rubbing their hands.
Well, I mean, you're a Rangers man, Alex. How many Aberdeen players are you taking in that Rangers side? How many would you take? If we're going to make a real comparison here and see if Aberdeen are really going to make a challenge, think back to Goods Aberdeen sides that were, when Hearts, Rangers, and Hibs were down. If you think back to good Hibs and Hearts sides as well, there's usually about 4 players that you take in a Rangers or a Celtic side that split the old firm. How many do you see in the Aberdeen side that you'd take at Ibrox?
Before I take Pelters on this, I think it's unfair.
You're going to say 0, aren't you?
I think it's unfair to Aberdeen players at the moment to kind of put that on them, because if you're going, who do I want to play last weekend? It's probably, the 11 Aberdeen players, because they have been outperforming Rangers so far, and that reflects in the table. However, you'd expect Rangers players to kind of, especially on the wages they're on and the kind of value they have, you'd expect certain players to rise to these standards when it matters, and certain ones we haven't seen that from so far. But to give, I want Aberdeen to kind of have the credit that they're due, and so one that I would absolutely be taking if I just went through one by one. Although Butland has been amazing for Rangers, despite maybe a slight spell at the start of this season where he wasn't looking as convincing, he has still bounced back brilliantly. Mm-hmm. Dimitar Mitov is probably the best goalkeeper. Well, no, he is the best goalkeeper outside of the old firm. And would I take him? Wow. I mean, for the price that Aberdeen paid, yeah, I think Dimitar Mitov is a brilliant goalkeeper. And it's good because Aberdeen have been on a long run of very poor goalkeepers. I would say Killaroos was brought in and they thought, well, this could be a big signing, and he didn't live up to the expectations. Dimitar Mitov, for pennies, coming from St. Johnstone, he's the only reason they stayed up last season, is a brilliant signing. I think, again, harsh on Butland maybe, but yeah, I would take Mitov. And I think any striker gets in the Rangers team over Cyril Dessers at the moment. So 2, maybe 3, because Keskinen's playing really well and we don't really have a good left wing.
And Hearts, that seems to be 2 pretty decent performances in the space of a week. They've got St Mirren at home next weekend before a potential relegation Edinburgh derby. Do you expect Hearts to kick on now? It's been a bit of a poor run under Naismith. They'll get that manager's bounce from Liam Fox, and then do you expect there's too much quality in that Hearts side not to kick on?
I'm not sure, because you would have thought by now that might start to show, and they're just so unpredictable. I think it's the same with St Mirren, to be fair. They're very unpredictable, so I can't say for definite, but I just think Hearts don't look like they care at the end of the game. Shanklin should have been sent off. I'm very surprised that he even saw it to the halftime whistle, never mind the full-time one. But they just look like they're frustrated, and at the end of the day, they don't care about. It's not that they don't care about winning, but so when they're behind, rather than going, right, let's get back into this, let's get calm, let's get composed, there's no composure. It's just frustration, and Hearts look a little bit lost at the moment. I don't think, I think a new manager is going to come in over the international break, or that's what they're hoping anyways. Yeah. I don't think that it's going to be a simple job for him. I think there are a lot of players there that were brought in, and they kind of had this aspect of, right, we're going to bring them in, especially Freeze, James Penrice, Blair Spittle, Jan Danda, who were all brilliant for their sides in their own regards last season. I think they were brought in and they thought, right, okay, do you know what we could do is we can make a quick buck on these guys. They're going to perform for us in the season. They've done it already in the league, and we can make money on them. And it could have been a nice, sustainable project for them. But when you're sitting bottom of the table, with 2 points to show, and yet to pick up anything away from home, it's difficult to say any of that will happen. I think Jan Danda's been unfortunate to be sitting on the bench so often. I think Blair Spittle's had too many critics because he's been played out of position. James Penrice has probably been one of their better players this season, and I just think they need to kind of go with their gut and trust these guys in the right position. Play a formation that suits them rather than sticking them in a formation that suits the manager.
I think the problem Hearts, Aberdeen and Hibs have had over the past few years is that there's usually one team in amongst the 3 of them that go on a good run and they come third and they're clear ahead of the rest of the pack. But in that pack, everyone's taking points off each other. There's not much difference in quality, and despite the money that those 3 clubs have spent in comparison to the others, you're not seeing the quality difference. The credit to these teams, such as Motherwell, such as St Mirren, and Dundee United this season that are doing well. They're well organised sides. They're difficult to beat. And even at home, Hibs and Hearts are struggling, and they find themselves near the bottom of the table. A potential relegation derby, which has not happened since Paul Heckingbottom was in, and I can't remember who the Hearts manager was at the time. It's been quite a few years, and I think there's a real pressure on those two clubs in particular to build points in the lead up to Christmas, because if they're still hanging about there, the pressure seriously, mounts on them in the latter half of the season. And clubs that'll be in around that bottom six, like St Johnstone, Ross County, they're set up every single season to battle in these games. They know they're in that battle in the latter half of the season. These boys that Hibs and Hearts are bringing in, they're used to high press. They're used to big possession games. They're not used to these challenging games, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. We made our comparison to your team, Alex, Rangers. How do you think they got on last night against St Johnstone? Pretty easy for them.
Yeah, it was convincingly unconvincing for Rangers to. I thought there was no trouble, there was no problems, there was no worries from me in that performance. In terms of, I didn't think St Johnstone were going to come away and take any points from it, but I also didn't think that before the game. So it was almost expected, not to be disrespectful, but it was expected for Rangers to pick up all 3 points at Ibrox against St Johnstone. Annoyingly, an 8 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday. That annoyed me.
It looked a great crowd, did it? And especially for those travelling fans for St Johnstone, that's to put the kick off that, just make it Saturday night. I don't understand.
I was maybe that it had a big impact, and I thought the game should have been put to bed by halftime. Cyril Dessers misses 2 big chances. I think Tavernier has one as well. A free kick goes close. Cherney puts us ahead. We have a couple other chances which we just don't put away. Go in at the break, not a convincing lead, but a lead. Second half, you have to build on it. I think Dessers misses another chance. He gets the ball cut under his feet a couple of times. Cherney makes it 2-0. And then obviously Hagi gets sent off. I'm sure we're going to talk about him a little bit in his return, but he gets sent off. St Johnstone get very unfortunate with Nicky Clark getting a goal ruled out for offside. And then the game kind of just simmered out from there. But yeah, I think there wasn't any points where I was thinking St Johnstone are going to get back into this or they're going to get something from this. But we definitely had to be more clinical, which has been the story of our season so far.
Yeah. And disappointing midweek, obviously, in Europe. How much an effect do you think that's having on the team?
Certain players will be feeling that. And I think we saw that with Cherney coming out. His post-match conference was really quite refreshing to see because it was emotional. It wasn't the bog standard answers that are written out for you. And because he's had a tough time with Rangers fans as of lately, and he scores 2 goals and gets the credit that he deserves. But he missed a sitter on Thursday, as did James Tavernier. Not so much as Cherney's, but it will have an impact. And had we struggled and gone into halftime level, and then you've got a real uphill battle, and that crowd will get on your back. And then all of a sudden, St Johnstone come away with something. Rangers are in no man's land in the title race, and to be perfectly honest, Clermont's probably feeling a hell of a lot more pressure. So it was good for Clermont, good for Rangers, probably good for the fans, just for a little bit of relief. But there's not that much relief because we are, as far as we are behind Celtic, it's the same point difference to Aberdeen, and that's what the real worry is. Rangers fans will be thinking, right, okay, Celtic have spent X amount, and there probably is a little bit of a rebuild in terms of catching them, but catching Aberdeen wasn't something that was kind of on the paper at the start of the season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the players that have been brought into the club, though, they've seen the stadium. We've seen the highlights from the big European nights, from that famous Europa League run. You'll see all the decorated trophies amongst the stadium, and there'll be a really big selling point with how big a club Rangers is. And a few of these games at the start of the season, notably the game at Hampden that was half empty. I was there at Ibrox last week. Hibs, one of the bigger clubs, and they usually come and play football, so it's a game that Rangers are usually quite excited to watch. The crowd was flat. It wasn't. it didn't have that sort of X factor or bite or needle that you usually get with going to Ibrox. It was actually quite tame. For a start, they let us out straight away after the game, which never happens when you go to Ibrox. And to be that far off the pace in the Europa League as well, there must be some of these players that are thinking, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, it's a bit, to go on the Europa League one, it was a bit of a basketball game, and it could have ended up 4-4, and it equally could have ended up 6 or 7-1 to Leon. So it was a right basketball game. I think it kind of reminded me of Red Star Belgrade in that run where we won 3-0, and it was never a 3-0 game. I mean, they had a penalty and 2 goals ruled out. So it was just a matter of moments, and unfortunately they showed their quality, and we definitely did not show any quality in the final third. Yeah, so that was something that worried you kind of going into Sunday was, can we pick up some quality in the final third? And it was 2 moments of quality that separate the game. Likewise, kind of one moment that won us the game against Hibs. So it's unfortunate that that's what we're having to turn to at the moment is, a run from a certain player or somebody to do something special to break a game, because other than that, the less said, the better about the performances. It's, you're kind of just waiting for that full-time whistle, which is never something you want to see. That happens. People say 5-0 wins you games, 1-0 wins you league titles, but you can't win every single game 1-0. You need to put on a show. You need to put on a display. You need to put some fear into teams, because if not, they're going to come out and go, why can't we get something against these guys? Motherwell did it against us last season, and that from that point onwards, we looked frail. So all it takes is a team to come and beat us.
Yeah, well, you said it earlier, Hagi, red cards, no brainer, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a Stonewall red card, and I think little complaints from himself. Even he knew it was happening, but he came on. He made a difference. He gets the assist for the second, but that will be a real setback for him now, because it was going to be probably spells of 15, 30 minutes and slowly kind of getting him into this first team football, because that's what Clement likes to do. And I don't dispute it. At certain times he's been playing B team football, which is levels and levels away from what this is. So I think that'll be a really sore one for him. It'd be a sore one for the team as well, because he does add quality.
I actually thought it was a bit. See, when I first seen it, I thought he'd slipped a little bit, and I thought it was actually quite unlucky. But the more I watched it, I was like, okay, it's a dangerous tackle.
I think it was.
They are really cleaning up the game. There is really no room for any kind of harsh tackles anymore. It's almost like they're trying to, completely cut out any form of slide tackle in the game. It's strange, isn't it?
It felt. When you watched it the first time, and I'm hearing Michael Stewart saying, "Oh, that's a definite red card." I watched it a couple of times. I was thinking, "No, it looks like he slips, or he's maybe just unlucky with the placement." It's a late tackle, yellow, fine, and that was, obviously the way the ref saw it. But I don't want to say this is why he got sent off, because it is a red card. But when you slow it down, it does obviously look a lot worse. But he plants his foot on him, and he is high. It's maybe slightly unfortunate for Hagi, but it is a red card, and you can. That was as simple as it was. There was nothing kind of. The St. Johnstone player didn't make a meal of it or whatever. It was a dangerous tackle. It could have put him out for some weeks. So it was a red card.
Yeah, one that definitely wasn't right was Silla from Dundee. Did you see that decision?
Oh yeah, it was an absolute shocker.
What was that about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure.
I was so surprised. Is that strengthening the case for VAR to be able to intervene with yellow cards?
Yes, yeah. I'm absolutely on board for 2 things surrounding yellow cards. Is one, a double yellow card should be looked at. It has to be looked at. I think there was a case in England a little while ago. I guess it comes a little bit muddy then, because you can't look back at the first yellow. It's only the second yellow you can look at. But I still think it should be the case where, if somebody's going off for a second yellow, you should be able to look at that. And then on the back of that, you should be able to appeal a double yellow card, because if one of those yellows, especially the second one, was not a yellow card, then you can't appeal it, and that means your player Mo Silla in this part means he'll miss the next game. But does he deserve to miss the next game for being pushed in the back? I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. And I'm struggling to I'm struggling to think of anyone that I've spoke to who disagrees with the view that VAR should be able to intervene on a yellow card. Now, people have cited the counter argument that it slows the game down more. I'm sorry, but the amount it's slowed down for nonsense decision, it's just like, go and get your act together. It's more just poor officiating than I need to stop situations where we can intervene. It's like we're just not using it right.
Yeah. I don't think VAR's used right in Scotland. I have a major issue with the fact that VAR was brought in when we don't have full-time referees or goal line technology. And I think both of those should have been well ahead of it. And it was just a thought of, let's try and keep up with the rest of football. And that's the only reason VAR came in. And if it was the semi-automated VAR with the semi-automated offsides and you're looking at all this and you're thinking, it's the up-to-date stuff, brilliant. And I fully endorse that. However, we are behind in that, and that's because we wouldn't be able to afford it. We have VAR Lite. And that in itself it should have been a case of, let's stick away from VAR until we can have the proper stuff with the proper referees, with goal line technology. We're behind, and we've just thought this will kind of paper over some cracks. I understand that, referees have second jobs, and that's what the SFA's argument is, that they couldn't make them go full time because they couldn't afford to kind of up their wages that much. But why not go and find referees, or kind of have this pathway that we talk about so much with the players? Why don't we have that with the referees, where we're going, well, you're not going to be paid what you'd get for 3 jobs, but you are going to be paid substantially more because it's going to be one full-time job where your full focus is going to be on this, and we can actually improve the standards of refereeing in our country.
Some game though, how did Dundee not win that game?
I'm still not sure. The red card will have played its part, but mistakes from John McCracken and then a very poor lofted clearance from Lyle Cameron. They just had to play it safe, and they never. You go 2-0 up with 10 minutes left. That should be you. That's the game. The game is won. That doesn't mean switch off for the last 10 minutes and concede 3 goals. When the first goes in, they have to then go, right, okay, let's get our act together because we still have a game to win here. Yeah. Then when the second goes in, they go, right, okay, we need to get something from this game because we were 2-0 up 6 minutes ago or whatever it was. And then the third goes in. It's a capitulation of the highest level. I mean, I think I saw a stat which it was only the second time in that amount of time in Scotland that had happened, which in itself is an amazing stat. But it shouldn't have happened. Dundee should not have let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like the manner of the defeat meant it was more sore for Dundee, because they'll look at that red card and think, okay, that changed the game. But to be that close to the end, 6 minutes and you're 2-0 up, just get 10 men behind the ball and clear it. You know what I mean? But I think we have to give credit to the brilliance of Matt Kennedy, he's something else, that guy.
Yeah, and Kilmarnock's kind of steal to keep going, because when it, again, on the flip side of Dundee could be thinking, we're 2-0 up, it's over. It could be the exact same mentality for a Kilmarnock player to go, we're 2-0 down with 10 minutes left, it's over. And let's just, especially in a league where teams are so close, as you mentioned, and goal difference could separate teams this season. That is so important. So when you're 2-0 down, you might think, right, okay, let's just make sure it stays at 2-0. Or we get one back, okay, 2-1, it's not the worst result in the world. But they didn't, and credit where credit's due, and a Derek McKinnon side likes to attack. And Kilmarnock have been wayward this season. They've been inconsistent. But that is a really good result for them. And in essence, if they went there and took 3 points, it would have been a good result for them. Never mind to do it in the style they did.
Yeah, I think Derek McKinnon did say they've had to do a lot for every point they've achieved so far. So maybe it's the moment that they kick on, Dundee will feel disappointed after a troublesome few weeks since Luke McCowan's left the club. Speaking of another quite surprise package that have been all right in the last couple of weeks is Ross County, who put in a decent performance against Celtic.
Yeah, and I don't think it should be a shock to too many who kind of are in and around the club, because Ross County signed some brilliant players. I think they had a really good window despite losing their best player in Jan Danda. And bringing in Ronan Hale, he has just been, I think my worry with him was adapting to kind of from amateur / semi-pro football to, a top flight in Scotland where it is professional football, and it's a little bit faster. It's a little bit probably, physicality is wise. It's probably similar, but it is a little bit faster. There's a lot more technique. Not that said a lot about the Scottish leagues, but I think he's adapted so brilliantly. He looks a little bit slow, but he makes up for it in his technique and his finishes. I mean, the goal he scored against Hearts was just superb, and he makes the mistake from the spot the first time, but Schmeichel's off his line. Maybe that's a little bit of fortune or misfortune, whatever side of it you're on. He tucks the second one away, and that is, that's a mental battle when you step up for the second time, knowing that you saw the first one saved. Do I go the same way? Do I try and change it up? There's so much going on in your head, and to slot it away as well as he did and put Ross County in the lead for the first time anyone's gone ahead against Celtic in the league this season, it is really, really important. So
yeah, it's just a depressing statistic, isn't it, for the rest of the league? Of course not for Celtic fans, who were, humbled to say the least midweek off the Champions League finalists of last year. With 8 games in the Champions League, is there some potential there to take points off Celtic on the back of those games, considering Brendan Rodgers is hell-bent on playing the exact same as he'd play against Ross County, for example, as he would against the likes of Borussia Dortmund?
Maybe, but that's only because if he keeps playing that way in Europe, he's probably going to pick up injuries. That is the only way Celtic probably drop points at this time, because they are in form. They have that kind of grit. Ross County maybe let themselves down a little bit towards the end, but it's kind of harsh to say. They'll be feeling sorry for themselves. They probably feel they should have come away with something, and even for it to be a draw so late on, they'll probably have felt that a little bit of a kick in the teeth. In the end, they take away nothing. Celtic take away all the points, and that's all that matters. And they have that grit to win. It's different in Europe. I think they could put that performance out against any team in Europe. That kind of style at home. Mm-hmm. Going away is just a different story, and they could have taken the game to Dortmund. It could have gone a really different way, especially after they get the equaliser. But they are so open in that style, and that's going to cause them problems in Europe. But it should be okay when they come back to the league. They have this mentality that every single league game is there to be won. Every single game they play is there to be won, but every single league game isn't won until it's won. And that's the way it probably should be looked at by any team. But Celtic know that the one for me is Callum McGregor. They're 1-0 down in 75 minutes. I think they've got a free kick or whatever. And he's just telling his teammates, calm down, we've still got plenty of time and all that, just be composed, etc. You look at him, he's not worried whatsoever. If we were 1-0 down against any team, I'm looking at James Tavernier and wondering who he's blaming next. There's no pointing the finger in that Celtic team. They all want to win for each other. And so I think it's going to be hard for a team to beat them at the moment anyways.
I think one thing that could go wrong for them is try to integrate their new signings, who, in my opinion, haven't been that great. Big Trusty at the back, isn't he? The most trustworthy centre-half. I think, everyone's going on about this boy for Augsburg, who's an 11.5 million. I'm not seeing that price tag yet. I mean, I was watching the game against, was it Slavia... Bratislava, was it? Who was it that beat 5-1 again?
Yeah, Slovan Bratislava.
Slovan Bratislava. I was watching it with 2 Celtic fans. And, they were going, oh, by the way, we won't be keeping him for long. He'll be away in January. I was looking at the game thinking, I'll probably get dog's abuse for this from Celtic fans online, no doubt. But I wasn't actually seeing that star man I play. I didn't think he's been that good. Maybe I'm yet to see it. I don't know. And also Adam Ida, he's coming on and scoring goals, but he's surely going to get frustrated spending this whole season behind Kyogo. So there could be a little bit of dysfunction in the dressing room. But I guess if they're winning every week, it's maybe not going to make a difference.
Yeah, Aramida, I mean, obviously he started, but he's just not worth £9 million. And I'm happy for this to be clipped up and sent back to me at the end of the season when he finishes top scorer, but I just don't see it. It won't happen. I think Celtic have been done in on that one. Engels, I'm kind of inclined to give a little bit more time to. The problem is, if anybody comes in with that price tag into our league, straight away all eyes are on you, and every
Yeah,
single misplaced pass you're going, oh, he's not worth that 11 million, blah blah blah. But I think it's just about finding consistency. I mean, it's obviously a big change for him, but he's been through big changes before. He's played in Belgium, moved to Germany, now to Scotland. It's it's a strange one because he started okay, but you don't want a player who cost you 11 million to just start okay. You want them to be
yeah.
on fire from the get go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as I said, it won't be a problem if they keep winning. But if there starts to be a couple of results that aren't quite going their way, I mean, they got it done in Dingwall on Sunday, but wasn't the most convincing performance. As I said, a humbling of Dortmund. It'll be interesting to see how they kick on from here. And it's a huge game at Celtic Park against Aberdeen, who I'd imagine will give them a right good game. And last but not least was Dundee United, who got a huge win at St Mirren Park at the weekend. St Mirren is not quite the team they were last season. It was spectacular what Robinson had done, getting them to Europe, and they really looked like some force in the league, but they've just not quite been at it yet, have they?
Yeah, and the games come thick and fast, and you think every opportunity is a chance to kind of go. This is where the season kicks on. But we are slowly now getting into the proper thick part of the season where there is a game every 3 days, and that means, yeah, okay, you need to try and kick on, and there's an opportunity to do it, but it also means a certain amount of games will be behind you and in no matter of time whatsoever. So will they be worried? No. They're another team that I think if they stayed up, they'll be okay with that. Europe was an exceptional season for them last season. If they were to get Europe back to back, I think they would be over the moon. But if the aim will probably be maybe another top six finish, even if they're seventh or eighth, I don't think their fans are going to be too disappointed. There, especially with the rise of certain teams this season. So yeah, it's a bit muddled in the middle, and that's where St Mirren are at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Dundee United, great result. How do you think they'll fare this season?
Yeah, well, I am almost pretty sure I had them finishing 11th with only St Johnstone behind them. I really, really thought they'd struggle. I probably thought going into October, Jim Goodwin's job would be on the line. It would be they'd be looking for new applications, but they've done superbly, and they really have shown up where it matters. They were probably unlucky to have nothing against Rangers at home, and that has always been a tricky task. I mean, taking teams to Tannadice, they seem to be superb, and that's fine because if you win your home games, that's half your games all season. That's fine. You're going to pick up points, but going away to a difficult place for everybody, and taking all 3 points, I think it's a great result for Dundee United.
Yeah, I think as we've said before, it's a bun fight out with the top three. It always has been for the last 3 seasons. So it will just be a case if Dundee United can, in a couple of spells of the season, put together a run of even 3, 4 results. Honestly, that can make the difference. That could be fourth place in this league at the moment with how competitive it is. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. And we've got obviously Scotland this weekend, but it'll be a good set of fixtures next weekend. But I think that's all from us tonight, Alex. At the bare bones of a squad, but I tell you what, I think we did all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And just finally on Dundee United as well is for them, if they finish 10th, that's a good season for them because they've been a yo-yo club for the last couple of seasons, and they need to have some stability. So staying up would be a really good season for them, and I think they're more than capable of that, which I didn't think at the start of the season.
Cheers, Alex.